Would the children come up? I have a story for you. So, a long time ago, there was this guy named Roger. Say Roger. Roger. He lived in Massachusetts, but he wanted to go up into the new land of Vermont when Vermont wasn't Vermont yet. But he heard that there was land there that he could farm, and he just wanted to get away from things. And he went up the Connecticut River, and then it froze, and he could walk on it. And he found a really nice spot where a river came into another river, and there was a mountain, and there was a field, and he built himself a barn, and he planted some crops, and there were some other people coming up, and he met a beautiful young woman named Mary. Say that. And they fell in love and got married. And he said, Mary, see this apple seed? Get your apple seed, everybody. And he said, in honor of our wedding, I'm going to plant this. And he planted an apple tree, and it grew up. I mean, not that fast, but you know what I mean. Anyway, they had a baby after a while. He said, in honor of my baby, I'm going to plant another apple tree. Ready? Here we go. And then another baby, and a birthday, and an anniversary, another baby, and they had a whole field full of apple trees. And he had 13 children. And after a while, they all either moved away and got married or moved away and didn't get married. And finally, there was only one girl left, his youngest daughter. And a young man asked her to marry him. And she said, well, she said, I would like to marry you, but I need to stay with my mother and father because they need my help. And of course, he said, yes, that would be fine. We'll just live with your mother and father. So now Roger was living with his wife, Mary, and his youngest daughter and her husband. And after a while, guess what happened? Exactly. They had a baby, and her name was Eliza. Say that. Now, when Eliza was a baby, Roger was so excited. He loved his children, he loved his apple trees, and he loved his grandchildren. And he would take Eliza out and he'd show her the apple trees and say, look at these apple trees, he said. I love my apple trees, and I love you, and I love my family. Anyway, every morning when Roger got up out of bed, first thing he'd do is go take care of his apple trees. And one morning he tried to get out of bed and he couldn't. He could not get out of bed. And he said, oh my gosh, he said, who is going to take care of my apple trees? I probably should write a will. Everybody say will. Now, what is a will? Anybody know what a will is?
It's like where you leave your things to people when you die.
Exactly. So when you die, you write something up to what you're going to leave your things to people. And it also just explains what he was concerned about was his apple trees. He said, he said, get me some paper, get me a pen. So he wrote, when I die, I want my children to take care of my apple trees. And then he just kept going, oh yeah. And then bury me right next to my apple orchard. Oh yeah. And then plant an apple tree over my head. Well, guess what happened after a few weeks? Exactly, he died. Well, after he died, what happened? Where was he buried?
Next to his apple tree.
He was buried next to his apple trees, and after he was buried, what happened? Anybody?
They planted an apple tree over his head.
They planted an apple tree over his head. Now, Eliza was too young to understand this, but a few years later, one day they thought, you think she's old enough, said Roger. Yeah, she's old enough, said Mary. So they brought her out to the apple tree. Said, Eliza, see this apple tree, the one that's kind of set apart from these other ones? You remember we told you about your grandfather Roger who used to carry you out to the trees? Well, he's buried under this tree. No, she said. Yeah, he's buried under this tree. Wow. She brought her friends over. She said, guess what? They said, what? She said, my grandfather Roger is buried under this tree. And they said, no. Yeah. And they all thought it was so neat that they made up all these games about it. And there's one game that I learned for this version from Carol Crompton that was done. I got a version for you many, many years ago. You don't remember, but I did. Because she collects these old singing games. These come from children, and this is the game. So I'm going to put this down because you don't really need it anymore. You'll see. So all the kids come on up here. We can make a circle, and I'll show you how this game goes. You hold hands in a circle. Who's going to be the dead Roger? Okay, you are. No, you'll be something else. Come on, make a circle. And you go in the middle and you just be dead on the ground. And here's how it goes. You make a hand, we'll circle around it, you walk around in a circle. Well, Roger is dead and he, you can sing it with me. Well, Roger is dead and he lies in his grave, lies in his grave, lies in his grave. Well, Roger is dead and he lies in his grave. Hi-ho, lies in his grave. I need an apple tree. Who's the apple tree? Okay, you go crouch right down right up his head first, and they'll have you grow. Crouch down, but we got to be able to go around you, so go over here. Yeah. They planted, now you're going to grow when you do this. They planted an apple tree over his head, over his head. Planted an apple tree over his head, hi-ho, over his head. The apples grew ripe, and they fell to the ground, fell to the ground, fell to the ground. The apples grew ripe, and they fell to the ground, hi-ho, fell. I need someone to play the part of an old woman and pick them up. Okay, how about you? So you're going to go walk around behind us. You're going to walk behind us, Lila, and just touch us on the shoulder, and we'll stand up when you touch us. There came an old woman a picking him up, and you stand up when she touches you. Picking him up, picking him up. There came an old woman a picking him up. Hi-ho, picking him up. There came an old woman a picking him up, picking him up, picking him up. There came an old woman a picking him up. Hi-ho. And then the old woman took her basket of apples right next to Roger. Come in, the old woman. And then, once you get in the middle tree, get right in the middle here. Yeah, right in the middle. Remove the tree. Good. Roger jumped up and he gave her a thump. So you're going to chase her around the tree. Jump up and just give her a little tap in the back. Run around the tree. Get away. Watch her. Roger jumped up and he gave her a thump. He gave her a thump. He gave her a thump. Roger jumped up and he gave her a thump. Hi-ho. Go back to your grave, Roger, quick. Which made the old lady go hippity hop, hippity hop, hippity hop. Which made the old lady go hippity